Alright, so now I currently got the frame upside down because I'm going to make a skid plate for it. That was my old one and it was broken and half of it's missing. So I'm just gonna make a new one out of plexiglass and just make it flush and tuck right in there and see how that turns out. It's gonna be a little tricky because it's a high spot right here, but I'll see what I can do to make it work. I got the new skid plate made. Again, there's the old one. It's all busted up and just garbage. And there's the new one. Got it nice and tight up against the frame. I took the corners down for the weld. Nice and tight all the way up to there. And then again on this side. It was hard to do that cut, so it's whatever. It's on the bottom, you're not really gonna see it anyways. And it comes up a little bit just because of these. I was thinking about maybe getting a spacer, but I think I'm just gonna run with it like this because this is just good enough, honestly. I think that looks sick. Turned out really good. And I just used a table saw and a miter saw to cut it so that, my cuts were nice and straight. So that, looks pretty good. I just gotta line it up and get that hole for sure, because that's the drain plug for the motor. Goes, on here somewhere. I'll just get a circle drill and do that. But turned out really good. It looks really nice. Alright, so I got the hole drilled in here. I just put the old skid plate right on top of it and marked where the hole was and just drilled it out. So that should line up right where the old one was. And now I can get back to putting other stuff back on it. Alright, now I'm going to start putting my rear end back together. I got the new axle bearings and the carrier. Now I just got to put it all back together. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up all these other parts that still have to go back on it, and I'll get back to recording. So now I'm gonna put my motor up on the stand, and I am going to fix the shift spring in there for the shifter. The shifter's not on it right now. But basically, whenever you would go to shift right here, if I shift down, it would just stay down and it wouldn't spring back up. Same with upshifting, it was just sticking, so it wouldn't rebound back. So that you could just shift into the next gear. You had to put it back down with your foot and shift it again. It was really annoying. And then I'm also gonna put a new stator in it. And so I'm gonna do that now. And you'll probably see that in a time lapse. All right, so I'm gonna get that spring flipped around and then get it back together. So it looks like the only mess was the oil from the oil filter. And then I also need new crush washers for both of my bottom fittings for my oil line, because it looked like they were both leaking. So the top one is still dry because I did have it running, was breaking it in a little bit for the new top end, but the bottom two are leaking, so I'm gonna get new crush washers for those. And I already had this motor completely apart because when I bought it, had the valve cover off and just had the whole top exposed in the middle of winter. And there was a good, probably quart of water that came out. And it was up to the bottom of the oil gear in water at least. Maybe even higher actually. But that's not good. So I went through it, and all the bearings seemed good. Definitely needed a timing chain, put a new piston and rings in it, new gaskets, had the head remachined, and it ran really good. It had a bad exhaust pipe on it. It was blown out and straight through. So that might have made my braking not as good. But whatever, I got a new exhaust now. And I only have maybe tops of an hour on it. Like, I didn't ride it much. But that spring is just the one right in here, right where the shifter goes. I don't know if you can see that or not from back there, but I think I can do it without pulling the clutch. So I'm gonna get that done and get back. I don't know how, but that took me a good few tries. But I got it flipped around now, and that should be my whole problem. I mean, for how difficult it was, hopefully it was. But now I gotta get some case sealer on my case and seal it back up. And I mean, I'll probably do the oil filter and everything real quick right now. I got one over there on the shelf. And then bolt it back up, seal it up, and then I get some new crush washers tomorrow. If I can get this one out. Maybe not. Damn exhaust. There we go. Alright, so now for sealing, putting the gasket sealer on the case, you want to make sure that the surface is as dry and clean as possible before you put the new silicone gasket maker on. So I got most of the old stuff off. Just gonna go over it with a cleanish rag. Don't have the cleanest rag, but works. So I'm just gonna make sure that it's all nice and clean. Try and get most of the old gasket off as much as possible. The more the better. And you want to use something that's not gonna disrupt the surface of the original case. Not to make it uneven or throw it off or nothing. You want to keep it nice and true. So you want to just use a rag, go over it, dry it off. Make sure that it's nice and clean to stick to. Wipe off the oil off the bottom. Make sure that's nice and good. So that's pretty good. And then you just want to take your new stuff and you want to just put a nice thin layer over the whole outside perimeter of where it's going to seal, or just like everywhere that's going to seal on the case. Same with this side. You want to make sure that this side is nice and clean and dry so that you're not going to have any problems making it stick to it. So at the bottom especially, where the oil ran out. And again, there was a spring that I flipped right in there. It is now in its working position, as I'd call it. I don't see why it shouldn't work like that. I don't know, I didn't look up a service manual or anything, I'm just kind of winging it. I mean, hey, I had it running, so I think I know what I'm doing. And so I'm hoping that that's right, and that's why it wasn't springing back, was because when I had it on there the other way, it was binding up or like had too much pressure on it, or honestly I don't know how it works, but it wasn't working. So this way it should work. That's the only thing I could think of causing it not to, you know, spring back. And shift. I mean, it was shifting before, just wasn't coming back, it was sticking. You know, I was still able to ride it and get it in the, ride it around my house. I got it in the 4th. So, I know that the transmission works. Alright, just had a little piece right there. Go over it one more time. Make sure that you don't get any dirt inside your case too, that's not the greatest for the motor. Alright. And then you want to take your finger and just level it all out. Make sure that everywhere gets covered. You want to try your best not to get too much inside the case and to wipe it out. Just because you still have all your stuff on the inside. Alright, I need some more over here. Just gonna go over the whole case, make sure that it's a nice layer everywhere. That'll allow it to seal, of course. Well, the sweatshirt's already ruined anyway, so. Alright, and then so for putting it back on, you only need it on one side, and then just line it up. There it goes. It's on there. And then you just want to put your bolts in there. And then tighten everything up. So then for when you're tightening them, you don't want to use like a big ratchet or anything. And if you do, you want to put light pressure on it because they're just small bolts. You don't want to break any. Because if you break one and it's stuck inside your motor, you're not gonna have a good time. Let me just tell you that. Jeez, I got it everywhere. What a mess. So I'm gonna get a small ratchet. And just make sure that they all start nice and none of them are cross-threaded. Just want to get them all started before you tighten any down. So I got all of them started and in a good bit. Now I'm just going to go over all of them. And then you want to go opposite, just so that the case seats and seals equally. So you want to put pressure evenly throughout the case. And then I'll go like over here. And then back down here. And then back up here. And then over here. Already did that one. And this one. And then when you do it, you probably want to count to make sure that you're getting them all. I mean, for crossing them. I wasn't counting, so I don't know what ones still need to be. Alright, and then, so once you cross them and get them snug, then you just want to go over them all in a circle to make sure that you get all of them. And then I still got to tighten down my oil thing, which I already had this outer bolt for this case and this case. It goes through both of them. I already had that one break, and that actually broke inside the case, but I was able to get that out with a welder. It wasn't cross-threaded or nothing, it just broke because I tightened it too much. And so once I got something welded to it, it just came out really easy, which is best case scenario. So just, it doesn't take much torque. You don't want to go overboard, just so that they're snug. Okay, just double check this one. Yeah, perfect. And then I'm just going to go over all of them in a circle. Make sure that they're all good. Definitely do not want to use an impact, because you're really likely to break one then. For bigger bolts, yeah, it's fine, but these things are just tiny. Like here's one that I didn't get tightened before. And also if you use an impact, you don't want to strip the threads on your case, because it's just not going to be good. Alright, so they're all tightened. You know, take a look, make sure that your gasket maker comes out from being squished, and then, you know, depending on who you are, you can just wipe it up, or at least wipe most of it up. Make it looking a little more legit. Or you could order the actual gasket, whatever works. most of it cleaned up there. Just gonna move my bolt because I gotta get my crush washers. And I'm gonna set that up here for now. That rag's gonna be done once that stuff dries. Alright, and so now, take my shifter, I'm actually gonna spin the motor. Around. Alright. So here's the shifter shaft. Let's see if I actually fixed it. It'd help if I took the bolt out so it could go on. Alright. Now the moment of truth. No. Looks like I didn't fix it. So it just gets stuck. Which I don't know why it does that, but